Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make the skirt that you have seen at the beginning of the video. This project is inspired by our previous video of the high slit crochet fringe skirt, and I had a feeling that some people may want to learn how to work this pattern in rounds, and yeah, that's what inspired this design. So this skirt can be worked to maxi length, or you can leave it in the mini version as you've seen in the images. And for the materials, I used a measuring tape, a 3mm crochet hook, a darning needle, a pair of scissors, and yarn. The yarn that I'm using is Robin. It is a fingering weight yarn, and I'll be using one strand in order to have my project as light as possible, because if I use a double strand, it will end up very bulky. So I used a total of 9 colors that I just keep repeating, and I basically needed about half a ball of each color, because for the mini skirt, definitely you're going to need half a ball, but for the maxi, then you'll need 1 ball of each color. And each ball is 300 yards. So if you are looking for substitute yarn, consider the yardage. For example, this is 300 yards, and I needed just 1 for either the maxi version or the mini version. Just 1 ball. Just have enough yarn. This is a project that is perfect for scrap yarn, so pull out your scrap yarn and put it to use. So let's jump right into the video. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. And in this image, it is paired with a Shelly butterfly crochet top that already has a video as well as a pattern. I'll be leaving all the related links in the description box below. So let's get started. Alright guys, so for the starting chain or the foundation chain, you're going to grab your yarn and your hook, and you're going to make a chain that can wrap around your hips comfortably, and this should be a multiple of 6. So just make a chain that is a multiple of 6. For me, I'm starting off with a chain of 168 chains. This will depend on how thick your yarn is, and it will also depend on your tension. It will depend on so many things. So just make sure that this chain can wrap around your hips comfortably when slightly stretched. Alright guys, I have my 168 chains, and the hip circumference that I'm considering for this particular project is 38 inches. So 168 give me a stretch to my 38 inches that I want to consider for the hip circumference. So make sure that your chain is not twisted. Just make sure your chain is not twisted before you slip stitch into the very first chain. Make sure that the braid is facing up at all times. That's what I'm trying to do here. And you're going to make a slip stitch into the very first chain. So insert your hook into the first chain and yarn over, pull through all. So we've created some sort of ring, as you can see here. You can even put it on right now. Try to put it through your hips and make sure it fits. And from here, you're going to start off round 1. You're going to start with a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. Go into that same exact chain where you place the slip stitch and place another double crochet. That counts as 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into the same exact chain. That counts as our very first shell of this pattern. For this pattern, a shell is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. So you're going to make a chain of 1 and skip over a total of 5 chains. 1 2 3 4 5, and into the 6th you're going to insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double crochet, and place another double crochet into the same chain, and then chain 1 and 2 more double crochets into the same chain. From here you're going to make a chain of 1, yarn over, and skip 5 chains, 1 2 3 4 5, and into the 6th you're going to place a shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 more double crochets, chain 1, skip 5 chains, and place a shell into the 6th. 1 2 3 4 5, and then into the 6th you place a shell. So that's the repeat for this round. You're going to repeat this until you have a total of 5 chains left on your round. You just keep skipping 5 chains, make a chain of 1, and then place a shell into the 6th. Chain 1, skip 5 chains, make a shell into the 6th. So go all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the round when you have only 5 chains left on your round. Alright guys, I repeated the pattern until I had a total of 5 chains left on my round. As you can see here, I have 1 2 3 4 and 5, and I'll make a chain of 1 and slip stitch into the top of the very first chain 3 of the round. Just make a slip stitch there, and this marks the end of round 1. Now for round 2, I am going to slip stitch into the next double crochet, slip stitch into the chain 1 space of the first shell, and then make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet, and then double crochet into the same space once, chain 1, 2 more double crochets into the same space, and then you're going to make a chain of 2 and single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, 1 shell into the chain 1 space of the next shell. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 more double crochets into that chain 1 space, just like that, and then make a chain of 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, 1 shell into the chain 1 space of the next shell. So you should notice, let me first finish this shell. You should notice that the single crochet is placed in the space between the shells, as you can see here and here. So you're going to repeat that all the way around. Chain 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and then make a chain of 2, and this is a shell, so it will receive a shell into the chain 1 space of that shell. Chain 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, and then a shell into the next shell. So we are going to repeat that all the way around until the end of the round, and we shall see what to do for the next round. Alright guys, we've come to the end of round 2, and I've placed a shell into the very last shell of the previous round. Now I'm going to make a chain of 2 and single crochet into the last chain 1 space of the previous round, and then make a chain of 2 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round, just like that. And now I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, because I'm going to switch colors. I'm going to use I'm going to make 2 rows of each color, and I'm going to follow the same exact color combination that I used for my previous tutorial. So my next color is white. I'll just make a slip knot and attach into the chain one space of the very first shell of the previous round. So into that chain one space, attach your yarn and then make a chain of 3. After chaining 3, you're going to go into the same space with 1 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets into the same space, just like this. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 1, skip over all this and go into the chain 1 space of the next shell and place a shell, which is 2 double crochets, chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. Chain 1, place a shell into the next shell, which is this one. So you skip over all this and go into the chain 1 space of the next shell and place a shell. And then make a chain of 1 and place a shell into the next shell. That's all that we are going to do for this round. And I'll meet you back at the end of the round, round 3, and show you what to do next. So this is what your work will look like. Go all the way around and I'll meet you back towards the end of round 3. Alright guys, we've come to the end of round 3 and I've just placed my last shell into the last shell of the previous round. And I'll make a chain of 1 and skip over all this, the chain 2 spaces in between the shells, and I'll place a slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. Just insert your hook and pull through all. So this marks the end of round 3. Now round 4 is basically the same as round 2. Repeat the same exact process. I'm going to show you one more time. You just slip stitch into the next stitch and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space, make a chain of 3 and double crochet into the same space, chain 1, 2 double crochets into the same space. So that's basically a shell into the first shell, just like this. And then you make a chain of 2 and single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, 1 shell into the next shell. And we're going to just repeat this particular pattern all the way across or around until the end of round 4. Chain 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, 1 shell into the next shell. So this is the same exact pattern that we did for round 2. So we are going to go all the way around until the end of round 2. And another thing that you should notice, we are working in the same exact direction for each and every round. We are not turning our work back and forth. We are working in the same direction for each and every round. Make a chain of 2, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 2, 1 shell into the next shell. All right, so I'll meet you back at the end of round 4. But basically we are repeating rounds 2 and 3. So since this round resembles round 2, the next round will resemble round 3. That means you'll chain 1 and cut your yarn and then attach your next color. For me, that will be navy blue. And then you keep going, repeating rounds 2 and 3, 2 and 3 again and again until you get the length of the skirt that you want. Alright guys, I've come to the end of my round 4 and I've just placed my last shell into the last shell of the previous round. And I'm going to make a chain of 2 and single crochet into the last chain 1 space of the previous round. Make another chain of 2 and slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. And then make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So we are done with this color as well. That means we are now switching to the next color. So this is going to be the back side of my work, because this is where the loose ends are going to be. That means that's where I'll weave in these loose ends. And before I go any further, I wanted to shape the waistline so that I don't come back to the upper part of the project. I just push downwards. And to do that, I have an elastic strand here and a measuring tape. I'm going to just measure about 8 or 7 inches. The waistline circumference that I'm considering is 26 inches. So I'm going to take off 6 inches off the 26 and get a total of 20 inches without stretching my elastic strand. So somewhere around there. And then I'm going to add just 1 inch for the knot that I'm going to make, as you'll see later on. So this is the elastic strand that I'm going to use. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a knot. So this was the provision for the 1 inch, the 1 extra inch that I've added, because I had to make a knot at this point. And I prefer to knot it twice so that it's secure enough. And then I can go ahead and cut off the excess, but don't cut very close to the knot because it can unravel. Now I'm going to use this and sew it into the top of the skirt. But to do that, I'm going to put this knot at the back of the skirt where I have the loose ends, along that line of the loose ends, just like this. And then I'm going to get something a little bit thicker. So I'm going to double my strand for the very first color. That will be the top edging of the skirt. This skirt won't have a waistband, so we're just going to use a single crochet stitch and run all the way around the top part of the skirt, or the foundation chain of the skirt, just like this. So you're going to attach your yarn, and then you're going to introduce your elastic strand, and you're going to single crochet all the way around, placing a total of 3 single crochets into each and every chain 5 space. But while crocheting the elastic strand within the single crochet round, so you go in, you can see we are working around the elastic strand. And as I had mentioned, I'm going to do a total of, I'm going to do a total of 4 single crochets in each and every chain 5 space. Just like that. And you're going to continue doing this. Every chain 5 space gets a total of 4 single crochets using a double strand of your first color. This will make the upper part of the skirt a little bit firm, and also hide the elastic strand very well, as opposed to using a single strand. So go all the way around, placing 4 single crochets in each chain 5 space, just like this. So you can see how clean the edge is, as opposed to the parts that we haven't yet worked on. You can see this definition of the waistband. This is the waistband of this skirt, nothing more complicated than this. Alright guys, so I'm back, and you should notice that your elastic strand may seem a little bit smaller than the circumference of the skirt that we had before. As you can see here, you can see what we are left with and what we have to work still. We still have to go around. So when you notice this, you're going to pull on the elastic strand so that it can gather the skirt. So keep pulling on it so that it can gather up the skirt on the top part. And then you keep crocheting all the way around. This should fit around this whole distance. So you just keep pulling on it and then you continue crocheting around. And I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. Alright guys, I've made it all the way around, and you'll make a slip stitch on top of the very first single crochet of the round. Just like this. I still have some elastic strand going on here, but I'll try to pull on it so that it can disappear within the skirt. And then from here, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. So you should see this very uncomfortable gathering on your piece, but this is totally fine. This can stretch and hold your waistline very well. As you'll see later on, this skirt is supposed to be a bodycon skirt without a drawstring, so this should be able to stretch to half of the waistline circumference. So remember, the waistline circumference that I am considering is 26. So this should be able to stretch to 13 inches. So you can see that it even goes beyond to around 16 inches. That means this skirt will fit a waistline circumference of 26, but will also fit a waistline circumference of about 32 inches. So if you see this gathering, don't be scared about it. Just know that you're on the right track. You're just doing some serious shaping for your skirt. So let's go on to our next color. Remember, I have already mentioned the repeat rounds. So round 5 is going to resemble round 3, and then round 6 will resemble round 2. So the repeat rounds are rounds 2 and 3, and we've already worked the round that resembles round 2. So that means the next round is going to resemble round 3. So you go back to the end of your previous round, and then attach your next color here, just like we did for round 3, and then just keep repeating those 2 rounds, working 2 rounds of each color until you get the length of the skirt that you'll need. And I'll be back to show you what mine looks like in the end. Alright guys, for me, I did a total of 9. I used a total of 9 colors. So once I got to the 9 colors, I repeated the same exact sequence as you'll see later on. And I ended up doing a total of 32 rounds for a short skirt, as you'll see later on. So let me just go ahead to work my skirt, and I'll meet you back when I have everything ready. Alright guys, I ended up doing a total of 32 rounds for my skirt for the lace design or the lace pattern, and this is the length of the skirt that I ended up with. I wasn't able to show the whole process because it was a repetition of just 2 rounds, and I ended up doing a total of 32 rounds, and this is what the final skirt looks like. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.